Let's hope his departure not only helps Torquay, but also Don himself. I'm sure it won't be too long before he finds a new club. Well, after the break, it's time for Plymouth Argyle...
It's to become 11 by lunchtime, with the club spared the expense of advertising the vacancy. Many more inquiries are expected, but whether the man who can improve the club's league position while keeping to its budget is among them remains to be seen.
And for the very latest news on what's happening at Plainmoor, we can go live to the ground now, where we're joined by Tom Skippings.
Well, thanks, Martin. Well, yes, after a traumatic weekend, it's been another hectic day here at Plainmoor with lots of comings and goings. And I'm joined here on a dark and deserted ground by the man who's been wading through all those applications today. That's Torquay chairman Mike Bateson. Mike, lots of inquiries coming in, but has the man that you want applied yet?
I don't know. As you say, lots of inquiries in. Some quite interesting ones, actually. Some fairly well-known names, some more obscure names, but I'm quite heartened by the level of application.
Now, you're known for preferring to work with people that you already know, Don and Paul Compton, in the past. Is there a strong local candidate from within the region?
Hard to say, really. There are one or two, certainly, that are well-known in this region that would like a stab at it, but they'll go into the mincing machine with the rest of them.
Now, Don O'Riordan has suggested that the wage structure here at Torquay was a problem for him. When the new manager comes in, whoever he may be, can you offer him a better financial structure, do you think?
Well, we've tweaked up the wages this season, and you can see what sort of effect that's had, so that doesn't really do us a lot of good. Yeah, there's a bit more money available for wages than there was last year, for example.
What's the timescale on an appointment now?
There isn't one. I would say within a couple of weeks. There's no rush.
All right, Mike, thanks very much for joining us. We'll have to see what happens over the next few days, of course. I don't know if it's a clue, but Mike Bateson was doing a very good impersonation of Alan Ball before we came on air. We'll have to see what happens on that front. Martin, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Tom. We'll obviously keep you in touch with the progress on that story throughout the week. Departure of manager Don O'Riordan appears to have had little immediate effect. His former charges slumped to their 6th successive defeat at Plainmoor last night. While it wasn't a massacre of Scunthorpe proportions, the result never really looked in doubt once Bury had taken the lead with a 34th-minute goal from Chris Lucchetti. The visitors had to wait until midway through the second half to double their advantage, courtesy of a classic strike from Phil Stant. And they should have gone on to make it 3-0 when Stant was pulled down by Ian Gore. But Ashley Bayes' brilliant penalty save from David Pugh proved to be one of the few bright spots on another depressing night for Torquay. Plymouth Argyle will be kicking themselves for allowing 2 points to slip away at Scarborough.
It was a case of the morning after the night before at Plainmoor on Monday, but unfortunately nobody had anything to celebrate. Don O'Riordan gone, the players returned to training, eager to hear what the new men in charge had to say. With Paul Compton and Kevin Hodges sharing the caretaker's job, efforts were underway to make up for Saturday's humiliation. 2 new signings though, Scott Canham and Chris Moores, have joined from West Ham. A clean start was hoped for as Torquay took on Bury on Tuesday night, but although the scoreline may...
Changes for Torquay United's game up at Chester yesterday. New signing Scott Canham came straight into the starting lineup, and there was also a place for 16-year-old apprentice Gary Monk. And with bottom-of-the-table Lincoln City picking up 4 points in the last week, it was absolutely vital that United got something out of their trip to the Diva Stadium. Our report comes from Tom Skippings.
Torquay's slide to the bottom of the Ensley League never looked likely to end at the home of one of the division's form sides. And the enormity of the task facing whoever finally takes charge at Plainmoor became apparent after just 8 minutes yesterday. Kevin Noteman given plenty of space for the cross, and former England striker Cyril Regis knowing far too much for Torquay's inexperienced defence. With new signings and YTS trainees in the lineup, the Gulls did well to hold Chester for another half an hour, but they were merely delaying the inevitable. A simple ball out of defence was good enough to defeat the Gulls' sweeper system. Striker Andy Milner rounded Ashley Bayes for the second, and another rout looked on the cards. But Torquay didn't repeat last Saturday's abject surrender, despite falling even further behind soon after the break. Defender Spencer Whelan enjoyed the freedom of the box to head home, and Torquay's 7th league defeat on the trot was guaranteed. But they did give their small band of travelling supporters something to cheer about on the hour mark, with a rare goal from one of the best moves of the game. Scott Partridge released Simon Travis, and after his shot was blocked by City keeper Billy Stewart, Ellis Lake turned the ball home from close range for his first goal of the season. But there was still time for Torquay to concede their 26th league goal since this losing streak began. The inexperience of 16-year-old defender Gary Monk costing them a penalty after this lunge on Andy Milner. Kevin Noteman slotted the ball past Bays, and after that, Chester cruised through the remaining 20 minutes as the Gulls crashed to last place in Division 3. Former Wigan manager Graham Barrow was among those watching, but with an appointment expected next week, the chairman remains tight-lipped for the time being. Meanwhile, the players were trying to look on the bright side.
Everyone grafted, we stuck together. Pleasing thing was we battled all the way to the end and we didn't drop our heads. But as I say, disappointed with the result, but things can only get better.
Is there any news on the appointment of a new manager?
No, I've spoken to a couple of people up here today, and it's all part of the ongoing process. It'll take me a few days to get through.
And we'll have all the news about Torquay's new manager throughout the week on West Country Live. Right at the bottom, Lincoln's recent revival has seen them pick up a win and 2 draws in their last 3 games, while Torquay have conceded 14 goals to drop into the relegation slot.
Are bright. I can tell you Torquay received a much-needed boost when they beat fellow third divisioners Leyton Orient 1-0. Stefan Ellerbeck has the details.
Torquay very nearly went 1-0 down after just 3 minutes when Ashley Bays pulled off a fine save from a Colin West header. But the goals hit back minutes later when Jamie Undar narrowly fell to find the back of the net after a goalmouth scramble. A tight stalemate of a game swung Torquay's way when Orient's Tony Kelly got sent off soon after the break. And 20 minutes from time, substitute David Bing put Torquay through to the second round with a superb header from an Ian Hathaway cross. Torquay United 1, Leyton Orient 0.